Alright, welcome everybody to round 5. Don't know what I'm going to do about that mute, but can't worry about it now. We have better hands than this, so I'm going to mulligan. This is technically better. So we'll keep this, we'll put back Temporal. Let's see what we're up against. Us being on the draw does hurt quite a bit. Opponent starts Prismatic Vista for a Forest into an Arbor Elf. Okay. We're going to play Polluted Delta, just in case this is land destruction. Okay, opponent plays Windswept Heath and cracks it. It's a Temple Garden, so this looks kind of like the Titan deck, maybe. Utopia Sprawl. Naming white. Ranger Cat. Oh, so this is Heliod Company. That's what this is. Yeah, they get Walking Ballista. Okay, so our hand is really bad against this. So fetch up a Hollowed Fountain. We'll draw Force of Negation, which doesn't really help here. Play an island. Play Howling Mine. I guess if they have to Chord or Collected Company, we can counter it, but that's not saying a whole lot. My opponent could literally just go, I think, Heliod Ballista here, and we would die. They might be 1 mana off of doing that. There's Heliod. Yeah, they are 1 mana away from just killing us with Ballista. They hit us for 3. We untap. They might crack, what's it called here? Okay, reveal Temporal Mastery. This is their last chance to stop us from casting a Temporal Mastery. We do have a backup plan, but... Okay. Temporal Mastery. Play Prairie Stream. Untap. We draw... What do we draw here? Opponent might crack Ranger Captain of Eos, which we would kind of hope they would do. We have Giga Draws. We could tap all of their relevant permanents. Okay, we draw to Fairy. And a Temporal Mastery. Play an island. Pass to our opponent's upkeep. Giga Draws all of their mana-generating permanents. And if they cast something like Company, we'll force... But if our opponent cracks Ranger Captain on our turn and we don't draw another Giga Draws, I think we're SOL. So opponent draws a card off of Howling Mine, plays a Temple Garden untapped, hits us for 3, sure. We untap. Okay, they're going to stop us from casting spells, so no Time Warps. We draw a land and a part, and I think this just means we die. Okay, they shock Temple Garden. They play a Utopia Sprawl. Yep, they got us. Alright. Path, Verdict, Gust. We're going to drop Force. Giga Drow's not as good here, because our opponent plays a bunch of mana elves and stuff. And I need to cut 1 more card. Probably Serum Visions, actually. Alright, try it like this. It's really unfortunate we didn't have like a Cryptic or something there. I thought for sure our opponent would have cracked on Temporal Mastery, but I mean, I probably would not have had the discipline to wait like that if I was playing their deck. Checking to make sure I'm unmuted, and I am. Alright, we get to play first. This is not a great hand, but it is a hand with Path and with multiple Dictates. And an Exhaustion, which is decent versus an aggressive start. We do need to draw another land, though. Okay. Play Misty, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Temple Garden tapped. We are going to crack and put a Prairie Stream into play tapped. Untap. Draw Howling Mine. Play Mystic Sanctuary, pass the turn. Howling Mine is, I guess, an okay backup plan. Opponent plays a Forest and passes. We draw an island. Okay. So we're on the Dictate plan now. Opponent plays a Prismatic Vista, cracks Prismatic Vista, gets Plains, and passes. Flash Dictate on our opponent's end step. Okay, we untap. Draw Island to Fairy. If I play to Fairy, I have to give up on Path. I think that's fine. So play to Fairy. Uptick. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent draws an extra card. They play Horizon Canopy. Skyclave Apparition. So they probably hit to Fairy here. They could hit Dictate if they wanted. That would be annoying, but not the end of the world. Because we could, theoretically, if we drew a land in any way, we could play Howling Mine and then exhaust our opponent. And if they hit Dictate, we can unsummon. If they hit to Fairy, we'll draw extra cards anyway, which is what we want. Okay. So they kill Teferi, pass the turn, we untap, we draw a land, which is perfect. Time Warp. Okay. Untap, draw Aether Gust, and Exhaustion. Okay. Serum Visions, try and hit a land. Temporal Mastery. Part the Water Veil on top, Mystic Sanctuary on top of Part the Water Veil. Path, Skyclave Apparition. Get a 3/3. And exhaust our opponent. Opponent has a Veil of Summer. Okay. It's pretty good. So they get a turn. They play a forest. They have 6 mana. Collected Company. They hit Ranger Captain. And that's it. Ranger Captain goes and finds Walking Ballista. They play Walking Ballista. And they pass. We untap. They stop us from playing anything. Draw Mystic Sanctuary, part the Water Veil. Do we have a way to draw any cards on their turn? I don't think so. So, Mystic Sanctuary. Put Time Warp on top of our deck. Pass the turn. We at least have an Aether Gust, but that's not much. Okay, opponent draws an extra card. Temple Garden untapped. Another Ranger Captain. Okay. Getting a second Walking Ballista. And they play a Heliod. Flash Dictate. But unless we draw an instant speed answer to Heliod or Walking Ballista, we're kind of screwed. Opponent should sack Ranger Captain here, yep. Draw Time Warp, Island, and Mystic Sanctuary with no way to draw additional cards. I think my opponent got me. Play an Island. I probably should have gotten Path, but I don't think it mattered. Wow. I don't think they play it safe either because they have a redundant Walking Ballista. I think they just go for it here. The combo is technically instant speed, at this point anyway. Counter on Ballista. They can activate Lifelink twice. Yep. Alright, that's round 6. So we are 4-2. That is unfortunate. Oh well. I'll see you guys in round 7. Alrighty, round 7, here we go. I'd love to play first. I think this hand is probably great. We will keep. And we're going to start Prairie Stream, I think. Okay. Start Prairie Stream, pass the turn. Opponent starts Mountain. Alright, looks like it's Burn, which we do have to be quite careful about. Yeah, play Flooded Strand, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Swift Spear, goes to combat, attacks us for 2. Sure. Take 2, we go to 18. Crack Flooded Strand, we'll get a Hollowed Fountain tapped. Untap, play Snow-Covered Island, pass the turn. We have to be careful about when we crack fetch lands against this deck because of things like Light Up the Stage. So, okay, Swift Spear number 3. Opponent goes to combat, attacks for 3, sure. And us drawing them extra cards without Time Warps is probably a very quick way to die. Okay, opponent plays a Scalding Tarn, cracks Scalding Tarn. Let's see if it's mono blue or is it? It is it? Okay. Light Up the Stage. Okay, they exile Lava Dart and Manamorphose. So this is a good turn to exhaustion them. We flash Dictate of Kruphix. Untap. We draw an Island and Force of Negation. Okay. So exhaust our opponent. Mystic Sanctuary. Put exhaust on top of our deck. Pass the turn. If our opponent plays anything too threatening here, I think it's worth just pitching Teferi to Force of Negation, probably. So they fetch, shock, and Lava Dart us. Yeah, I think this is fine. Pitch Teferi, Time Raveler. That prevents them from turning on a Light Up the Stage with only 1 mana if they're exhausted out. We untap, we draw Exhaust and a Force of Negation. So play an Island, exhaust our opponent again. Pass the turn. We do need to draw a land. Opponent gets to draw an extra card. They play a Mountain, and they pass. We untap. Time Warp or land would be great. Okay, cast a Serum Visions. We draw Giga Drowse. Teferi. Dictate on the bottom. Pass the turn. We're going to Giga Drowse their attackers and a Steam Vents on their upkeep, I think. So Giga Drowse replicated 3 times. We do have Dictate, or we do have Force. We can pitch Dictate to it pretty easily here. So hit Swift Spear, hit Swift Spear, hit Soul Scar, and Steam Vents. So like if my opponent plays a Blood Moon, we could take out the Blood Moon. Okay. Biggest concern, I guess, would be Magus of the Moon. Okay, opponent plays a Manamorphose. Sure. Add 2 red. Manamorphose again. Sure. Red-blue. Spire Bluff tapped. Stormwing Entity. Can't do anything about that. Opponent gets to go scrying. Okay, we need Time Warp or a land. We untap. Draw Howling Mine, Temporal Mastery. Wrong order. Okay, pass the turn. On our opponent's upkeep, we'll Giga Drowse down all of their creatures and a blue land. Replicated 4 times. Okay. Tap Stormwing, tap Swift Spear, tap Swift Spear, tap Soul Scar, and tap Steam Vents. We've been having a lot of draw the wrong half of the deck problem today. Okay, opponent Lava Darts us. Sure. This is their own upkeep. Okay, they're just using the mana we were tapping, that's fine. Okay, opponent draws an extra card. They play another Stormwing Entity. They get to go scrying. I don't know if they have any Spell Piercers or Counter Spells in the main, but that is potentially a huge problem. If they do, light up the stage. Okay. Crash through in a Lightning Bolt. Another light up the stage. Sure. We're basically on land or bust, though. Opponent plays a mountain. Okay. We untap. Draw Howling Mine, Mikokoro. Okay. Play Mikokoro. Cast Part the Water Veil as a regular Time Warp. Pass to our next turn, we untap. We draw Island, Serum Visions, play Island. Cast Temporal Mastery. Pass the turn. We untap. We draw Temporal Mastery, which we will reveal. Okay, this should do it. Because now we can play Howling Mine and Dictate and draw a million cards. I could shock and play Serum Visions. I don't think I need to. I think I would rather save Serum Visions for like a Mystic Sanctuary play. That might be incorrect, I don't know. Okay, well we draw 4 cards here. Alright, another Temporal Mastery. Play an Island, play Howling Mine. Untap. Draw 5 cards. Okay. Serum Visions. Draw Mystic Sanctuary, other cards to the bottom. Serum Visions. Draw another Serum Visions, 2 cards to the bottom. Serum Visions. Draw Time Warp, thankfully. Mystic Sanctuary on the bottom. Time Warp, target ourself. Mystic Sanctuary. Put Time Warp on top of our deck. Problem is we are getting to the point where we have like almost too many mines out. Because we technically only have 5 turns until we will mill ourselves. So I think at our upkeep I can actually... okay, opponent Lightning Bolts us. Prowess triggers all around. We go to 10. So stop on our upkeep. I'm actually going to bounce a Howling Mine and tap all creatures my opponents control. Because at this point we're going to be drawing too many cards. We draw 4 cards. One of which is a Time Warp. Time Warp ourself. Flooded Strand. Crack Flooded Strand. Get a Mystic Sanctuary. Time Warp on top of our deck. And I think I'm just going to no-value Snapcaster to... No, they have a Lava Dart. Next turn, we're going to discard Hallowed Fountain. We untap. Draw Time Warp. A bunch of lands. Okay, play Plains. Play Teferi. Bounce Howling Mine. Time Warp ourself. Okay, now we can Snapcaster. Just so we have to discard 1 less card. Doesn't really matter what we target. I'm not going to cast the Serum Visions here. Pass the turn, we'll discard Howling Mine, Howling Mine. Untap. Draw 3 cards. Okay. Time Warp ourself. Mystic Sanctuary. Put Time Warp on top of our deck. Exhaust our opponent. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 2. Play Teferi. And I think we can bounce another Dictate here, and we should. Keep the new one. Unsummon Dictate. Draw Time Warp. Okay. Pass the turn, discarding Dictate. We untap. We draw Teferi and a land. Play Prairie Stream. Time Warp ourself. Bounce Mystic Sanctuary, draw a card. Play new Teferi. Keep the new one. Still gonna uptick it. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Down to 10. We untap. Draw Misty. Draw Jace. Mystic Sanctuary. Put Time Warp on top of our deck. Play Jace. Brainstorm. We're looking for part still. Okay, put back Dictate. Time Warp ourself. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Take our opponent. Down to 8. Could have plussed or minus Teferi there. Didn't really matter, I don't think. So we draw Dictate. Brainstorm with Jace. Put back Dictate. Time Warp ourself. Attack our opponent for 2. Hit them to 6. Play Flooded Strand. We're just going to shuffle here. So Part the Water Veil is one of 5 cards remaining. Unsummon Dictate. We draw Part. We have exactly 9 mana. So Awaken the Plains. Okay, go to our next turn. Discard Island. Doesn't really matter. Okay, untap. Draw Force. Go to combat. And kill our opponent. Okay. Game 2. Let's bring in Path. Force here is kind of bad. Let's bring in Aether Gust. Giga Drowse is not great here either. Drop Jace for Supreme Verdict. I think we even drop it to Teferi for a Supreme Verdict. And try it like this. Oh no, we need Timely. What am I talking about? Duh. Drop Giga Drowse for Timely Reinforcements. I think we drop Cryptic for another one. Maybe we only need 2 paths. We'll try 3 Timely. Alright. Opponent will be on the play. We have a hand that has Dictate, Path, and Time Warp. The Temporal Mastery is less than ideal, but I think this is fine. I will keep. Okay. Opponent plays a Mountain. Soulscar Mage. They mulled to 6. We draw Time Warp, play Flooded Strand, pass the turn. Okay. Opponent draws. Plays a Swift Spear. Goes to combat. And they attack. Just gonna fetch up a Prairie Stream tapped. Take 2, go to 17. Yeah, this is not really a hand I want to use Path against right now. Play an island. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent draws a card. Plays a Mountain. Manamorphose. Sure. Add red. Manamorphose. Sure. Add red. Crash Through. And Lightning Bolt. Okay. Go ahead and path Soulscar Mage now. We're pathing Soulscar because Soulscar could potentially stack up -1/-1 counters if we get into a situation, a weird one where we have to, like, part the Water Veil. So we're going to take 5 and go to 9. We could be very dead this turn. Okay, we draw Snapcaster. Play Mikokoro, pass the turn. In an emergency, we have Snapcaster Path. Otherwise, we will be flashing Dictate. Actually, we should probably still Snapcaster Path this turn. Opponent goes to combat. They're going to attack for 1. Yeah, we're just going to Snap Path in case they're trying to light up the stage. Okay, opponent gut shot Snapcaster. That's fine. Path Swift Spear. Did they just fail to find a Mountain? I think they did. Soulscar and Steam Vents tapped. Okay. Draw Hollowed Fountain, play Hollowed Fountain tapped. And we should have them now. We're going to flash Dictate at their end step. And then we're going to untap and Time Warp again. And should have a good time. Okay, opponent plays a Scalding Tarn. Goes to combat, attacks for 1. Sure. We go to 8. Opponent passes. Flash Dictate. We untap. We draw Serum Visions. And Teferi. Play Flooded Strand. Crack Flooded Strand. Get a basic island. Time Warp ourself. Okay. Extra turn, let's go. We untap, draw Teferi and another Time Warp. Alright, Time Warp again. Any fetch land is great, because we can get Mystic Sanctuary. And then we can just Mystic Sanctuary, Time Warp, Serum Visions. Alright, extra turn. Draw land. Play the land. Serum Visions. Draw Supreme Verdict. Path to Exile on the bottom. I think we have to keep Hallowed Fountain, though. It is getting dangerous how low we're going, but it's not like our opponent has any Lava Darts. Time Warp ourselves. Alright, pass the turn. We untap. We draw Hallowed Fountain, Exhaustion. So shock Hallowed Fountain. Cast Temporal Mastery. Pass the turn. We untap and draw Cryptic Command. So play an island. Play Teferi. Bounce Soulscar. Draw Part the Water Veil. Alright, pass the turn. So our opponent has Soulscar, 1 unknown in hand. They're going to draw 2 cards. They get to fetch. And we have Cryptic Command to keep ourselves alive. Hopefully that's enough. Okay. Opponent untaps, draws 2 cards. Plays a Mountain. Okay, we shouldn't be dead here. I don't think there's any single spell that's going to get them to do 5 damage. They have a Soulscar, and they would need double spell to take us from 5 to 0, and Cryptic Command should be able to counter something. Okay, crash through. Manamorphose. Opponent plays Stormwing Entity. We will counter draw. Get a Prairie Stream. Opponent plays Soulscar Mage. 1 card left in hand, and they're not going to play it. Okay. We draw Mystic Sanctuary Island, Uptick Teferi, Mystic Sanctuary, put Time Warp on top of our deck, Part the Water Veil, Awaken an Island. We have exactly 9 lands, so we have to tap all of them. Okay. Next turn, we untap, we draw Time Warp Timely, so play an island, play Teferi, keep the new one. Unsummon Soulscar. Time Warp ourself. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 6. Okay, they go to 13. We untap. We draw Time Warp, Snow-Covered Plains. So Mystic Sanctuary, Time Warp on top. And opponent scoops the match. Nice! We win round 7. I'll see you guys in round 8. Alrighty, welcome to round 8. Cannot keep a no-lander. Oof, this is not great. It's potentially good if my opponent's playing a controlling deck. We do have a Force of Negation to interact with. We can put back a Temporal Mastery and probably pitch the other one. Did my opponent mulligan? My opponent also mulliganed. I think I'm fine going to 5. Okay, I like this better. We're going to put back Flooded Strand and Hallowed Fountain and start Basic Island. Into Serum Visions, of course. Okay, put back Flooded Strand, Hallowed Fountain. Opponent is starting at 6. We start Island, Serum Visions. We draw Serum Visions, which is not bad. Prairie Stream to the bottom, Giga Drowse to the bottom. Pass the turn. But this lets us play a Hallowed Fountain tapped into a Serum Visions on turn 2. Opponent's playing a Ketria Triome, so it's likely that our opponent is playing Uro, Fairy to the bottom, Temporal Mastery on top. Hallowed Fountain tapped. Pass the turn. This is a uniquely good place to take advantage of a Temporal Mastery. Okay, opponent plays a Misty Rainforest. We Miracle Temporal. Cast Temporal. Okay. Flooded Strand, get a Basic Island. Serum Visions. Draw Mystic Sanctuary. I think both of these cards go to the bottom. Okay. We untap. Draw Cryptic. Play Flooded Strand. And we're going to try and run out Teferi. Okay. Uptick Teferi. And pass the turn. Okay. Opponent cracks Misty Rainforest. Probably for a Raugrin Triome. Yep. Okay. Opponent untaps. Plays a Forest. Plays their own Teferi. They downtick to draw. So we are going to fetch up a Hallowed Fountain here. Tapped. Untap. Draw Prairie Stream. If I downtick, Teferi potentially dies to Bolt, and we can't Cryptic to protect him. But if I downtick and I hit a Time Warp, we're golden. Alright, we're going to downtick. A little bit risky. Part the Water Veil is not bad. I could Repulse Teferi. I actually think I'm going to do that. We draw Mind Sculptor, play Prairie Stream, pass the turn. So unless my opponent has like land Teferi Bolt, we're probably fine here. They uptick Teferi this time. They play Scalding Tarn and pass. We draw Prairie Stream. Uptick Teferi. Play Jace. Go Brainstorming. Put back Mystic Sanctuary, Temporal Mastery, play Prairie Stream, pass the turn. So the problem here is if our opponent has a Lightning Bolt for Teferi specifically. Okay, they crack Scalding Tarn for Breeding Pool tapped. Untap. Okay, they downtick Teferi to draw. I believe they're looking for a land. We should definitely have like no trouble going off if we untap with both Planeswalkers. Oh, we can't Miracle Temporal. Okay, opponent plays an Uro. They draw a card, gain 3 life. Sure. They get a Field of the Dead. They Growth Spiral. Get a Misty. Sure. Get a Zombie. Alright, we untap. We will not reveal Temporal because we can't draw it. Uptick Teferi. Brainstorm with Jace. Okay, we put back Path, and I guess Temporal Mastery here. Time Warp ourselves. Mystic Sanctuary, put Time Warp on top of our deck. Okay, we untap, we draw Time Warp, play Snow-Covered Plains, unsummon the zombie, Time Warp ourselves, play Dictate, Brainstorm, put back Path Island, I guess. Untap, draw Path Island, play the island, awaken the plains, uptick Teferi, Brainstorm with Jace. Put back Path, Exhaust. Okay. Untap. Draw Exhaust, Path, Temporal Mastery. Okay, opponent scoops it up. Okay, so versus Uro / Omnath deck. Definitely want Force. I think Brazen Borrower's fine. We might want a couple of Aether Gusts. I think I dropped Jace. Drop 1 Jace, 1 Giga Drowse. We'll bring in Force, Brazen Borrower. Then we drop, I think, a Cryptic for an Aether Gust, and maybe a Temporal Mastery for another Aether Gust. And it's possible we want Silence. Actually, I think Silence is better than a Giga Drowse. We're going to try it like this. Okay. Opponent is on the play. We're going to keep this. We can't reveal a first turn Temporal, unfortunately. Start Island. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent cracks Flooded Strand, gets a Ralgrin Triumph tapped, sure. Untaps, plays a Scalding Tarn, cracks Scalding Tarn, gets a Breeding Pool, untapped down to 16, and plays Renin 6, sure. We untap, we draw Dictate, play Mystic Sanctuary, pass the turn. Okay. Opponent picks up their land, plays Flooded Strand, cracks Flooded Strand, gets an Island, plays Teferi, upticks Teferi. We cannot Miracle Temporal, despite the fact that that would have been amazing. Play Teferi. Okay, opponent does not have Force. Uptick Teferi. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Scalding Tarn, cracks Scalding Tarn. He gets a Steam Vents untapped. Plays Omnath, which is kind of a big deal. Picks up a land. I'd like to draw Exhaust, if possible. We untap, we draw Howling Mine, unsummon Omnath, we hit Force, which we can't cast. Play Mystic Sanctuary, play Dictate. Opponent will get to draw an extra card here. Pass the turn. We're exposing our Teferi to a Lightning Bolt, and giving our opponent extra cards to potentially hit it. They can unsummon our Dictate if they want to. It's actually a pretty reasonable line. They play Omnath, they pick up a land. They play a fetch land, gain life, they crack the fetch land, get a bunch of mana, unsummon Dictate, Growth Spiral. This will kill Teferi. It's not like we could really do anything about that, which is kind of frustrating. Okay, I have up 2 blue mana. They discard... What do they discard here? Omnath, and Scalding Tarn. We draw Flooded Strand. Play Mikokoro. Play Howling Mine. Play Dictate. I probably should have played Dictate first to better draw out like a mana leak. Okay, opponent untaps. F6 through their turn, because there's nothing we can do about it. And they uptick to Fairy. Probably alt Renin 6. Okay, they uptick Renin 6. They play Flooded Strand. Gain life. Hit us for 4. We go to 12. Okay, opponent has to discard 3 cards. They discard Misty, Misty, and Scalding Tarn. We draw a bunch of cards. Heart the Water Veil, which I'm really not thrilled about, but I have to cast here. Opponent almost certainly has a counterspell, and if they don't, wasting this Part the Water Veil feels really, really bad. If my opponent doesn't have a counterspell for this, I will be absolutely surprised. Yeah, it's like a Cryptic. Even the counter and bounce a land. At the very least, we can Flooded Strand to buy back Part the Water Veil, unless my opponent can exile our grave. But we're very close to dying. The way that my opponent's playing, I just imagine they're holding an entire handful of counterspells, and there's nothing we can do about it. Which means this is probably going to go to game 3. Man, I would not keep Force in this deck if it wasn't like vital to winning this matchup, because top decking it after your opponent's landed a Teferi is so horrible. Okay, they get a Mystic Sanctuary. They get a bunch of life. They put Growth Spiral on top, or they get mana this time. Growth Spiral on top of their deck. Crack Flooded Strand. They get a Snow-Covered Plains. They take us to 4. They bolt us. And then they just flashback Lightning Bolt. Alright. Game 3. I'm wondering if I should drop Aether Gust for Silence. Do you like Silence Cryptic? This feels a little more awkward, but I think it's the way I gotta go. Alright, we do want to play first. Double Teferi is tempting, but with one land, there's no way we can keep. This is a lot better. If I keep this, I put back Howling Mine. Okay. Well, hopefully we can draw and resolve Teferi. That'd be fantastic. We can Giga Drowse them on turn 3, so they can't play Teferi, at least for a turn. Opponent has mulligan to 6. Alright. Start Prairie Stream, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Triome, we untap. We draw Mystic Sanctuary. Play Mystic Sanctuary, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays Misty, passes. We draw Cryptic, pass the turn. Stop on their upkeep, we'll Giga Drowse their lands. Basically because we drew Cryptic. They fetch a Breeding Pool, untapped. They Growth Spiral into a mountain. Okay. Giga Drowse them here. Hitting Breeding Pool and Snow-Covered Mountain. They play a Forest and pass. We draw Hallowed Fountain. So Shock Hallowed Fountain. Pass the turn. I'm going to be really upset if they play Teferi and have Veil. That would really piss me off. Okay, opponent plays a Field of Ruin. Cleansing Wildfire. Sure. Get an island. Silence my opponent. Okay. Silence goes through. I suspect they were going to play something on their second main phase. Flash Dictate. Alright, we untap. We draw Flooded Strand and Hallowed Fountain. Play Flooded Strand. Pass the turn. Leave up Cryptic. Opponent fields Mystic Sanctuary, we get an island. Opponent gets an island. They untap. They do get to draw 2 cards. They're going to play Renin 6. Okay. I mean, they can keep fielding us, but we play a lot of basics. Okay, they pick up Misty. Play Misty. They pass. Crack Flooded Strand at the end step. Get a Hallowed Fountain. No shock. Untap. We draw Dictate and Snow-Covered Plains. Play Flooded Strand. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Misty. Gets a Steam Vents tapped. Untaps. Picks up Misty. Plays Misty. Growth Spirals. Plays a Plains. Casts an Uro. Sure. They gain 3 and draw. No land. No land is kind of scary. Flash Dictate. Untap. Draw Teferi, Force, and Howling Mine. Now is probably our best chance to resolve to Fairy. I was thinking about putting Silence on top, but I didn't. So play a Plains, cast a Fairy. Opponent casts Force of Negation. Crack Flooded Strand. Get a basic island. Counter Force and draw. If they have Veil, we at least draw a card for potentially getting Force next turn online. Okay, opponent plays a Temple Garden. I got the Veil. We draw Part the Water Veil, which is a card I really do not want to pitch to Force, but I guess I would if I had to. Okay, opponent untaps, draws 3 cards. Okay, they play a Flooded Strand. Crack Flooded Strand. Mystic Sanctuary. Put Force on top of their deck. They're going to play Uro and draw Force. One thing's for sure, after having played this tournament, I really hope they ban Mystic Sanctuary. Because, completely honest, even though like my deck is abusing it, and abusing it in an arguably interesting way, I never want to play games with Mystic Sanctuary ever again. Alright, opponent casts an Uro. Sure. I'm getting real sick of like infinite free counter spells. Okay, we untap. Opponent has to discard. We draw Dictate, Snapcaster, Serum Visions. We're at 7 mana. Play Serum Visions. We draw Time Warp, Force of Negation to Fairy on top. Put them both on top. Shock Hollowed Fountain. And I think we attempt to cast a Time Warp here. Opponent just hard casts Force. Yep. Okay. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Misty Rainforest. Gets another Mystic Sanctuary. Puts Force of Negation back on top of their deck. Oh no! They actually get a Forest? What is this? Growth Spiral. They're probably holding Mystic Sanctuary. Alright, Flooded Strand. Man, maybe I should be playing Confounding Conundrum in the sideboard. That would be interesting, I think. Alright, opponent untaps, draws 3 cards. They cast an Omnath, sure. They draw a card. They're probably going to hit us for at least 10 damage, just by playing a bunch of lands this turn. Okay, opponent goes to combat, attacks for 6, sure. They gain 3, they put a Misty into play, they gain 4. No blocks, we get hit for 6. They play Scalding Tarn, get 1,000,000 mana. They ping us for 1, crack Misty, hit us for 4. Well, I guess if they only have 1 Lightning Bolt, we're still alive. Pitch Dictate, Force Bolt. Opponent has a Mystical Dispute, and that's going to be the game. Man. Well, we're 5-3 going into round 9, so I'll see you guys there. Alrighty, I'm looking at tournament standings, and right now, I think if we win this next round, we're guaranteed like prize in top 64, and if we lose this next round, we get nothing. There's a slight chance we still get prize and make it in top 64. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. So hopefully I didn't sit here and play 9 hours of Magic only to lose and get nothing. That would be frustrating, but like, yeah, we'll see what happens. Alrighty, play first. I think this hand's okay. We do need land, but we can start Serum Visions and kind of sculpt our hand a little bit. Alright, opponent just hasn't decided whether or not they're taking any mulligans yet. Alright, opponent has mulligan to 5. Okay. Start Island, Serum Visions. We draw Flooded Strand. I think I want to draw Force of Negation. Against an unknown opponent, it's probably good, especially one that's mulligan to 5. This appears to be oops all spells. Play Flooded Strand, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays Seagate Reborn untapped into a Talisman of Resilience, which I will counter. Crack Flooded Strand, get a Prairie Stream tapped. Untap. Draw Snow-Covered Plains, play an island, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Blazing Emeria, Shattered Skyclave, casts Balustrade Spy. Alright, that probably means they've got it. 4 Creeping Chills. They have a Salvage Titan, yep. Okay. Well, our opponent saw Temporal Mastery, so odds are they know what we are. Okay, versus our opponent's deck, we want another Force. Probably don't need Aether Gust. Brazen Borrower should be fine. And Silence in. Path could be important. Drop Jace. I think I'm just going to keep them off combo for as long as possible, so I'm going to cut Path, cut a Serum Visions, cut a Temporal. Maybe I don't need Brazen Borrower. Alright, we'll try it like this. Or I'll play first. It's not great. Get a mulligan. Alright, I like this a little bit better. It's still not fantastic. We'll put back Time Warp, I think. They keep a hand of 7. Okay. Start Prairie Stream tapped. Okay, opponent starts Seagate Reborn untapped. Simian Spirit Guide, they're going to play Penthead Prism, okay. We untap and draw Exhaustion. Play an island. Stop them on their upkeep. Gigadrow's Seagate. We need to draw a land and be able to bounce Penthead Prism, and they have to have nothing. They have Turn Timber. They play Talisman of Resistance, or Resilience. Thoughtseize. They take Teferi or they take Exhaustion. Teferi takes them off of Talisman of Resilience. Exhaustion stops them from untapping 2 lands. So they take Teferi. Draw another Teferi. Pass the turn. This is kind of a really depressing end to this game. Yep. Undercity Informer. Yep. Opponent's got all their Creeping Chills. All their Vengevines. So that's game. So, pretty sure that means no prize. That's really disappointing. I'll probably put in the video description if I ended up winning anything, but I'm not going to wait around. I got other things I got to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this 9 rounds of Magic we played. It ended a little bit disappointingly. We got a little bit unlucky. Unfortunately, we did not have as good of a time playing against like 3 or 4 different Uro decks. We won the first one, and then we just couldn't close it out the last couple of times. So, and I think every time we played against Uro, we 1-2'd. So it was close. But they just have too much interaction, too many infinite counterspell decks, and even with 4 main tech Teferi, Silences, Giga Drowses, and Force of Negations, it's just not enough. So, alright, well I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!